There's a list inside Jack Dorsey's new app that, in my opinion, almost nobody covering it has opened. It's Block's own list of the agent programs you can plug in underneath Buzz, and Hermes Agent and OpenClaw are both on it. And I know some of you are asking whether this beats the agent you already pay for. Honestly, that's the wrong thing to measure. What I'd want to know is whether the work your agent did this month survives you closing the laptop and whether anyone else could open it and see who approved what. Now, nobody at Block is paying me, and I've never spoken to a single person there. I run Hermes Agent every day, and I've got a commercial interest in it. So if this was a rival, I'd have every reason to be unfair to it. The sources are all in the description. And there's one thing this app does without asking anybody, sitting right there in Block's own code, that I didn't believe until I read it. Let's get into it.
Hey, I'm Johnny Nel. I spent years building businesses the old hard way, managing teams, scaling operations, and doing everything manually. Today, everything I built, from automations and no-code infrastructures to fully AI SaaS products, has AI helping in one way or another. Firstly, let me quickly show you this. In South Africa, we call this a braai. I build with AI tools that, in my opinion, anyone can learn to use. My mission is simple: to help creators, entrepreneurs, and business owners get clarity with AI. Let's build smarter together and enjoy this video.
When you open it, you don't land in a chat at all, you land on a key. And I'll come back to why that matters. Past that, it's channels down the left on threads down the right. And you might be thinking, Johnny, this is just another chat app with a robot bolted onto it. And the thing that's different is the agent's got its own name sitting in the member list. Same as a person, and it stays in that room whether you're typing at it or not. Block announced this on the 21st of July, and it's free and open source, so you can run the whole thing on your own box. Jack Dorsey said he built it to cut Block's dependency on Slack and GitHub. So Buzz ships with a list of these, and I went and pulled that list straight out of Block's code. Okay, look at this. Hermes Agent and OpenClaw are rows on the list Block wrote for the programs you plug in underneath Buzz, and that list went out in the version they shipped on the 28th. Now, somebody's going to tell me a name in a settings file proves nothing, and that's fair. So what you're looking at is the source file itself with the release stamp on it in Block's public repository where you can read it tonight. 12 programs show up on that list, and Block split them in the file itself. 4 they build in and drive directly, and 8 more they ship as presets. So a row means the app knows the name and can go and find the program, not that you can install it tonight and have it working. Buzz sits above whatever agent program you plug in underneath it, and the way those two talk to each other is an open standard called ACP, the Agent Client Protocol. Zed started it back in 2025, and it's since moved out of Zed's hands into its own project, so all Block did was write software that speaks it, and nothing here locks your agent in. If you're already running a Hermes off the kit inside the vault, Buzz doesn't ask you to move anything. Your setup just gains a room to work in. And Block shipped their own agent program inside the app, so in my opinion, they're competing at the same level as the one you'd plug in. So it doesn't replace the agent you already pay for. It gives that agent somewhere to work. The coverage that actually traveled calls this a Slack killer. And the biggest videos put Hermes or OpenClaw in the title, which is probably why you landed here thinking one of these 3 has to lose. This thing is a fraction of the size of either of the agents I've just named, and it's been public for about a week, with a releases page that moves daily. That's not a knock on it. It's just the scale you're deciding on. The interesting idea in Buzz is that the room and the program answering in it are 2 separate things, and you can change one without touching the other. So I opened the setting where you choose that program, and it gave me 3 options: Claude Code, Goose, and Buzz's own agent. Claude Code needs a small translator piece before it can talk to Buzz, and instead of sending me off to a terminal, the app went and installed that itself. That took about 20 seconds, and the row went from measing to ready. Then I took Claude Code out and put Goose in, and the whole thing took 2 clicks. There was no export step and no migration, and none of it felt like moving house. What makes that possible is a standard called the Agent Client Protocol, which behaves like a shared socket. Buzz doesn't need a private deal with each company, because anything that speaks the protocol drops into the same slot. And this is where your competitor question answers itself. In Block's own source, there is a list of 12 of these, and Hermes and OpenClaw are both sitting in it, written up as things you plug in. So the 2 names the biggest videos put in their titles as the rivals are, to the people who built this, entries in a drop-down you scroll past. Now, there is one part I could not test, and I would rather you heard it from me. The demo you want is whether your conversation survives the swap, and running that needs a live channel with history already in it. That channel lives on a relay, and getting one means signing into a hosted service called Builder Lab. The app is open source. The room your agents sit in is somebody else's server, and it wants an account before it lets you through the door. So that is where I stopped. And I will come back to what it costs you later, because it is the one thing here that isn't free in the way open source trains you to expect. There's one question this app answers on your behalf before anybody on your team ever sees it, and the answer is always the same. It's one line in the code, block published. And it's why I changed the setting before I let this run anything. And guys, before I put anything like this near a machine that matters, I run a 5-question go or no-go on it. And it'll save you a weekend on a tool that was never going to fit you. It's waiting for you inside the AI Founders Vault along with the rest of the guys. And the link is down in the description below. Now, let's look at that one line in the source. So how much of this runs without a human saying yes? In the file that handles those requests, Block's own comment says they get approved automatically with an option they call allow once. So nothing stops to ask you before the command runs. And that isn't a setting somebody left switched on. It's the default sitting in the code. The request comes in, the permission is granted, and the command runs. And guys, bear in mind who's allowed to post in that room, because anyone who can post can make that agent run commands on your computer. So what I do is lock that room down to just you on day one and leave it alone. And then there's the key itself. When you first open Buzz, it hands you an identity, and their own dialogue puts it plainly. Save it somewhere safe because you'll need it to get back in. And anyone holding that key can impersonate you and reach everything in your account. Block have also filed an open issue against themselves, saying somebody could hide an instruction in a message and talk the agent into handing that key over. That issue was still open the morning I recorded this, and the one fix somebody proposed for it got closed without ever going in. So today, any tool you've wired into that agent can read the key out of it. A room full of robots talking to each other isn't a business. So the shape I'd build first, and the one I'd have you copy, is one channel with one job, an inquiry in this side, a quote out the other, with the client, the agent, and a named human as the approver. I can hear the pushback on this, and it's fair. You'd never let a machine near a client quote, and I wouldn't let one near mine, which is why there's a named human in that room whose job is to check the draft before anything leaves your side. So the inquiry lands, the agent reads the 2 documents you pinned, and it comes back with a draft quote, and it's working, where your team can see what the numbers came from. Now, before you go and build that, there's something in Block's own material worth seeing. And I found it there rather than on my screen. Projects and workflows both ship switched off behind an experiments panel. So if you don't turn them on, you'll spend an evening hunting for a menu that was never live. And the one that really matters is this. Block keep a table in their own README that grades every feature by how finished it is, and workflow approval gates sit in the half-finished row. Their words for it are glue still drying. So today that thumbs up gets recorded, and that's all it does. The agent carries on whether anybody on your side clicks it or not, which means the approver you put in that room is a note in your log, not a break on anything. The app itself is free, and the models aren't. So let's talk about what your agent spends and whose account it comes out of. Free is doing a lot of work in that sentence. In Block's documentation, the codex path wants an OpenAI API key rather than a ChatGPT subscription. So whatever your agent spends is billed to your key, not Block's. And Block just dropped the number of agents you can run at once from 24 down to 10, which tells you what those runs were costing people. And a Buzz agent replays every mention it hasn't answered the moment it starts up. So a busy channel spends your money with nobody typing. The other thing you are paying with is control, because Block's own security file says channel membership is the only access control there is. So there's no read-only agent in Buzz. If the agent's in that room, it can act in it, whether you meant it to or not. Every action in a channel goes into a running record. And the phrase Block uses for it is tamper evident, but not tamper resistant, which in plain words means you'd see somebody changed it, but couldn't stop them. Most of you are going to install it anyway, so start here. Nothing pages you when a run stops. So if you need to know the moment something breaks, this isn't for you yet. Block themselves list push notifications as not built. If you haven't got a computer, you can leave awake all day. The agents stop the moment it sleeps and nothing tells you it happened. Somebody who only has a phone can't even get started because the phone carries its own key and the computer does all the work. The iPhone app's on its own release train and it's behind the desktop one. The people already paying for something like Hermes or OpenClaw most probably get the most out of this because the room is all they're adding. And the one I'd think hardest about is client data because channel membership is the whole permission model here. So take that into consideration before you point this at client work. And guys, none of this is a prescription for what you should do. Your context is your context, and I'd highly advise you check the current release yourself before you put this anywhere near something that matters. Let's just rewind for a sec. So take the last quote an AI drafted for you, or the last invoice it chased on your behalf, and ask whether somebody else on your team could open the thing holding it and see what got decided and who approved it. You don't need to install anything to answer that. That question is why I opened this app in the first place, and it's the only reason I tell you to look at it. So would yours survive that, guys? Tell me in the comments which job you tried it on and what you found, because I genuinely want to know, and if you feel called to it, hit subscribe so you catch what's coming next. And guys, if you want the whole thing already built, that's the agent room starter inside the AI Founders Vault. Open the key envelope first, because that's the piece that stops you losing something you can't get back. The link is down in the description below. Next one, I'm pointing this at the shared compute side of Buzz, where one machine runs the models for the rest of your network. See you in the next one.